You're listening to a download from the outdoorstation.co.uk. Number 444.
Hello and welcome back once again to the Outdoors Station, and we're going to have a bit of a catch-up on this particular podcast. There's lots of things to get through, which I've put to one side due to the last podcast being the Two Moors Way and the Cotswold Way. And of course, during that time, other things have been going on, but I've just not been able to report on it all. The first thing I was thinking of mentioning going through is the fact that the downloads now are up to 9,767,000. So as I predicted at the beginning of the year when I last talked about figures, we'll be hitting the 10 million mark before very long. And I've been trying to come up with ideas in a way to involve you guys in the actual show itself. And so I think nearer the time I'm going to try and work out how you can get some recorded messages to me and we can put them out on the air and you can tell me exactly how the show or the series or any of the stuff that we've talked about has helped you or opened your eyes to other outdoor stuff. So I thought that would be a good way to celebrate 10 million because I couldn't do it without you guys. Now, talking of which, the newsletter, which is occasionally mentioned on the little sort of promos I put in the podcasts that I put together, that's been growing fairly steadily, and I've got pages here of comments from people. But I do want to thank you and mention a few people as I go through some of the comments and lists here, if I may. And I've just moved my paper around and got it all in the wrong order. So, in no particular order, in case I have gone slightly wrong, I'm going to mention a few names and some comments that you've mentioned. On the first page here, we got Margaret Armstrong from Scotland, and she said she enjoyed Megan's cycling podcast. That was Megan that on the podcast I did, number 414, which was really enjoyable. In fact, I don't know what Megan's doing now. Tron was her catch name, wasn't it? Her nickname. So that would be interesting to find out what she's up to. Very quickly, just whipping through names and places. Helene Leelfield in the Netherlands. David Brogan, loves the show regularly and likes the new regularity. He suggested I should speak to Lightwave, the brand Lightwave. Now that is run by a chap called Carol over in France. So I will see if I can get hold of him. I used to speak to Carol some time ago when we first started. And maybe it's worthwhile catching up with him. Malcolm Black, he loved the interview with Paul Stokes, and he suggested an interview with Speedster backpacking products. Of course, the Paul Stokes interview was the guy who's behind Treadlight Gear, and that was podcast number 424, if you want to look that one up. Robin Evans, I'm back in the groove, Robin, thanks very much. But he did suggest speaking to Alan Sloman, who's very well known on the TGO Challenge, and actually just sort of going from an aspect of how the challenge has changed over the years and the people involved, which is a good topic actually, so we might come on to that. Right now, forgive me if my pronunciation isn't good. Carlos Arajo from Portugal, welcome aboard. Paul Roberts, Gavin Fernandez, John Martin suggested Summitierequipment.com. New name on me, John. Very interesting. New company in the UK producing what looks like a handful of sleeping bag products at the moment. Very interesting. Yes, I may indeed get in contact with them. Natasha Roost from the Netherlands, welcome aboard. Brian Bagley from Denmark. Julian Nadzari, he was linked to the podcasts after the Storm in Norman's interview, which was podcast number 429. Anybody interested in Storm in Stows? He's been thrilled by the podcasts that he's found here. A few more on that page, but move on to the next one. Daniel Popper, Kevin Fidlander, Michael with no surname but have just discovered the site. Such a wealth of valuable and interesting information. Thanks very much. That's the whole point. Pete Crosby from the UK. Your podcasts keep me company in those dark nights in a bivvy. Beats the wind and rain. Cool. Matt Booth. Mark Jan Delimans, John Taylor. Love the show. I've been listening for the last few years. Thanks to your podcast, I've been introduced to micro adventures, bikepacking, Alp Kit, and mountain podcast. I've been inspired to get back into wild camping and following the birth of our 2-year-old son. He's a fan of Alp Kit, but appreciate you've interviewed them a few times. Alp Kit now have sort of moved on, really. They're a bit bigger, and obviously they sponsor Mountain Podcast. So, they haven't really come back to me when I've approached them a few months ago. However, you did mention Charles Hawkes, H-A-W-E-S, Hawes, Walking the Blog. And I looked that up. Really interesting. So I may get in contact with him and see what his background's like. And his thoughts, which would be cool. As you can hear, I've got pages and pages of here. Peter Northam from Australia. Really enjoyed Bob's presentations. Is there anyone else there who can match his relaxed, almost soothing style of presentation, which are highly informative and pragmatic? Now, that comment reminds me, Peter, many years ago I used to do voiceover on the advertising circuit, and there was one particular radio station I went to, and the producer there used to say, "Can you give me your evening chocolate voice, please, Bob?" So I'd snuggle up to the microphone and go, "I really enjoy Bob's presentations. Is there anyone out there who can match his relaxed, almost soothing style of presentation?" Yeah, I didn't make a fortune, but it was good fun doing it. Chris Stewart, great podcast, good mix of tips and gear. Lovely, thank you very much. And they've suggested a camping place now. I did ask for people in the newsletter to suggest great camping places as well as niche products. Brighouse Bay in Kirkcudbright, family camping. Sometimes we forget where we need to start. Bracelands Forest of Dean is another one, so that's recommended. Gordon Jackson suggests I speak to DD Hammocks. Spoke to DD a few times. They're very shy. DD are very shy, and I can't seem to get them on board, but there you go. Jason Douglas, Giles Thurston, Harry Harvey, James Keane, David Farquhar, Mark Phillips, David Hawkes. Just found you going through all your videos, and he's from Labrador in Canada. Welcome aboard, David. John Clark, James Thomas. I recently returned to your great podcast content following a long break. So pleased to hear that you're still putting out good material. Oh, I knew. What is it? 2005 I started, so it's 12 years now. Anyway, he suggested Alpameo Designs. I think that's .com. Very interesting range of bike packing gear. And in fact, there's a lady over in Brecon who makes bike packing gear. I promised to go and see as well and haven't got round to it. So I need to get those lists back together for the winter months and speak to these people. So just quickly running through the last few names on the list. Barry Kimber, Sandra Gullery from the USA, Kevin Ross, Elliot Gully, Alistair Darg, Mike Surridge, Wayne Clark, Declan Connor from New Zealand, Lee Wagstaff. A really interesting podcast, which is professionally produced. Thank you very much. And he suggested I speak to megakayaks.co.uk. Not too sure if that's a British company, but I shall have a look at them. And to mention just the last few, Bob Dennis, Christopher H., Ralph Radford. And there's quite a few more I've missed off there, but I did want to mention the people that have taken the time to leave some comments. Thank you very much. Suggest some cottage manufacturers, niche products that'd be worth having a chat with in the UK ideally, and obviously interesting places to visit. So if you want to add your pennyworth sometime, then do go along to theoutdoorstation.co.uk and have a look at the newsletter section. Just jot your name down there and it'll ask you the questions for any suggestions you might have. So let's come on to how I've been filling my time for the last, couple of months, I suppose. Now, if you're a regular listener, which I presume you are, you will have heard the Two Moors Way series and the Cotswold Way. Just to give you an idea that how popular the Two Moors Way is, the last time I checked the figures, I'd had over 40,000 downloads on that series, which is very, very respectable. And the Cotswold Way is creeping up at the moment in 2,000 or 3,000. Obviously, that was a much more abbreviated thing, but it was worthwhile speaking to Rose, who had just completed it with the dog. The video I did on the Two Moors Way, that's also achieved quite a good number of views. We're almost at the 3,000 mark as well. And it's been good to see some of the comments. I think I've had 20 or 30 comments actually on one of the videos relating to when I did the gear review, when I just quickly went through the rucksack and said my thoughts. And it's reassuring that people like honest comments, because not everything was perfect. And I also mentioned how I thought, or what a disappointment it was to find that certain items weren't made anymore. But that's the outdoor industry for you, I'm afraid. It does change fairly rapidly. So if you're interested in the lightweight 2-week backpacking trip on the Two Moors Way, then check that out either on the Outdoor Station or over on YouTube, of course. Or if you want to go back through the archives, you can have a listen to it on the podcast series as well. Now, another video, I've actually been making a lot of videos at the moment, but another video I made recently is of a new rucksack which is coming into the UK next year. It was a pre-production model from Gregory Optic and Octal. That's the men and the ladies. I think this is going to be pretty popular. If you can remember, going back into the dizzy time when Go-Light first came into this country, and the sort of enthusiasm, interest that there was in the Jam and the Pinnacle and the Quest rucksacks, and how they really changed a lot of things. I have a feeling that this Optic rucksack will do something similar. Without going into too much information here, because I don't want to bore you, have a look at the video. As I say, it's on the Outdoor Station and over on YouTube, on the Outdoor Station page, obviously. Have a look at it. I think that's going to be pretty interesting for people who are interested in something that carries well and is particularly light. Yeah, I shall be interested in see what people's thoughts are. And obviously when the goods arrive, we'll see what the feedback is. Now, also on YouTube, I don't know about you, but I'm watching less and less live TV these days and spending more and more time on YouTube. And my subscriptions are going up in all sorts range of different interests, either video production, live streaming, audio recording, photography, and of course outdoor stuff. But it's still pretty hard to find decent quality material which is entertaining and informative and actually nicely put together. But I don't know if you guys are aware of a couple called Scott and Ariane, and they have a channel called The Backpacker TV channel on YouTube. Now, they live apparently near the Appalachian Trail, and they sort of do teaching and motivating basically for people to get out on the trail. Very enthusiastic couple. So if you're looking for some Sunday night entertainment or just YouTube entertainment to escape for a bit, you can have a look there. So look them up, The Backpacker TV. I think you can also find them under the same name in Facebook as well.
Hey guys, this is Scott and Ariane with the Backpacker TV.
Hello.
Today we are going to actually field test the Mountain House breakfast hash that they were really super nice to send us.
Well, I'm really, really excited about this one because this is the Spicy Southwest breakfast hash. Not on the market yet. So excited because it's spice, spice, spice. And I am all about the spice in the morning.
Yeah, so we camped last night at Grassy Ridge Bald, which is right off the Appalachian Trail in North Carolina. Absolutely beautiful bald. If you ever get a chance, I'll hike up there. Yeah. I mean, the views are spectacular. A little windy last night. We're a little wind blown.
Just a tad bit.
Probably like around 40, 45 mile per hour winds. And so, but it's morning. We've had our coffee, and now we're going to have our breakfast. So
I am so hungry after last night. Right. So I'm very excited to dig in and give this a try.
So we're going to field test this, and let's get started. Let's see. Let's taste this.
Right.
Still on the subject of videos, if you are on my Facebook page or on the Outdoor Station group page, you'll see I've posted a couple of links to some videos which I found really interesting and entertaining, well put together, as well as good content. One was done professionally and the other one was done by, a hiker, shall we say. The one that really got me thinking, and as a really simple but good way of why we carry too much stuff, is basically that you carry your fear. Now, the guy concerned is Clint Bunting, and he's done over 14,000 miles, obviously doing the Triple Crown, the AT, PCT and CDT, and he's based in Oregon. But it's a sort of a little mini documentary on him, to be honest, by the local TV station. And he has a good point. We carry our fear. And what do I mean by that? Well, if you are scared of being cold, you will carry too many layers. If you're scared of being hungry, you will carry too much food. If you're scared of being thirsty, you'll carry too much water. And as we know, when you've been out on the trail for a while, you come back, and those items that we carry for our fear are usually the ones left at the bottom of the pack.
The Ice Age Trail in Wisconsin, it's a 1,000-miler. The Appalachian Trail in 2004, just over 2,100 miles. The Continental Divide Trail, it's about 2,800 miles. And the Colorado Trail, it's just under 500 miles. Pacific Crest Trail again in 2009, and the Appalachian Trail again in 2010, for a total of roughly 14,000 miles. You're looking at all of your equipment with an eye for, what can I do without? Is that going to enhance my wilderness experience? Is having a handle on my toothbrush really going to make brushing my teeth that much more enjoyable? So cut it off. I hate to use the word minimalist because it makes people think like they're doing without, but you can be comfortable with less. My back was so light I didn't need to support any weight on my hips. So why would I have that hip belt? Just cut it off, it's just dead weight. I often get accused of going too fast. You're ultralight, you're hiking 30 miles a day, you can't be seeing anything. Well, I'm still walking the same speed that you are. I'm still seeing the exact same things, but I'm seeing it with my head up, and I'm not burdened with this giant backpack. I'm not stopping to take it off and, get that thing off of me. The whole time I'm walking on that trail, I'm looking at the scenery. I'm relaxed, I'm comfortable. People pack their fears. Whatever they're scared of is usually what they overpack for. So if you're scared of the bugs, you're going to bring a tent with a lot of netting. If you're scared of being cold, you're going to carry a bunch of extra layers and shells. And if you're scared of being hungry, you're going to carry extraordinary amounts of food. That's a pretty flat spot right there. So this is my tarp. This is a huge weight savings over a tent. As you can see, it's really small. It's incredibly light. Now, instead of using poles, just grab some sticks from the woods, like that. The tent's purpose is to keep rain off of you. This is doing that. So I put this inside, and if there is any moisture on the ground, it's going to keep it from coming back up and soaking my quilt. I'll throw that down in here. This quilt is essentially a sleeping bag, but without a zipper. I found that there's really no reason to carry a zipper. Gravity will keep that quilt on top of you, just like it does when you're at home in your bed. Nice and cozy. I'm out hiking. That's why I come out into the woods. I don't come out here to sleep. I don't come out here to cook and eat. Those are necessary parts of the journey, but I'm mainly carrying all my gear in my backpack. And so I want to make sure that that part of my trip is the most comfortable part. This is my first aid kit. Guys got to eat on the trail. Can't live on captured chipmunks alone. But I don't think that the ultralight backpacking is the right way. I think being out and enjoying nature is the right way, like being respectful for the planet. If I can make it easier for people, if they can go out into the woods in a more comfortable way, they're going to do it more often, and they're going to be more of a proponent for natural places, to protect these places.
So have a look at that. It's a really, really good little video clip. It's only about 5 or 6 minutes long, I think, and very entertaining as well. So check that one out. The other one was a video that I think was done last year, and I noticed it's had almost 250,000 views, so it gives you an idea of the popularity. Nicely filmed, beautifully edited, nicely put together, entitled "This is Not a Beautiful Hiking Video." Exactly. That grabs your attention straight away. It's by an Austrian, Peter Hockhauser, and he did the PCT in 2016. So it's his sort of mini self-documentary about the actual hike. The weird part is, for us who are experienced hikers, this was the first long-distance hike that he did. And he admits in the beginning of the video that he tried to do too much too fast, carrying too much, etc., etc., at the beginning. But again, beautifully shot, really inspirational, and also very honest about the blisters and the pain and the other discomforts you have to go through when you're doing something like a long distance hike. But obviously a couple of thousand miles is slightly different to a couple of 100 miles, but the concept is still the same. So check that out as well. Fascinating stuff. And if I find any more useful and interesting and entertaining, well put together outdoor videos, I shall gather them together and put them on the Facebook page, on the Outdoors Station page, or on the Outdoor Station website, of course. When you sign up for the Outdoor Station newsletter, you have the option to give us feedback on our shows. You also have the opportunity to suggest people of interest you would like to hear more about. You can also suggest UK campsites which you feel may be unique, and cottage manufacturers who would appreciate a little exposure to a wider audience.
The Outdoor Station. Sharing the passion, appreciation and understanding for the outdoors world.
Now, if you cast your mind back to earlier on this year, I went to the Adventure Travel Show and I spoke to various people there, and hopefully you found the information of use and interesting. One of the people I spoke to in podcast number 426 was Etienne de Galbert, and he had started homecamper.com. Now, Homecamper is based in France currently, but they are expanding. And what they're doing is they're gathering together people who have got a large amount of space that would welcome people to camp in their garden, I suppose, is the best way of putting it. And so what I've decided to do is, over the next couple of weeks, I'm going over to France with Rose and the dog. And we are going to drive around France. We're seeing some family down in the south of France for a few days, and then we're tootling back. And we're going to use the home camper service to stay basically in people's gardens, which just should be interesting. I wanted to try the system out, see what it was like, see who we met. It sounds really, really good. Obviously, we're not self-powered, we're taking the car, but it would be curious to see how people who were perhaps cycle tourists or walkers even, long-distance hikers, and see what sort of locations they could end up camping in. I've booked a couple of places already, and interestingly, and obviously this is a sort of an important part of it as well, it's quite a lot less than the traditional, should we say, commercial campsites. So for us, the dog and a tent at the commercial campsites, I've got everything like swimming pools and, play areas and all that sort of stuff. You're looking around the 30 to 35 euros. Whereas the home campers, so far I've booked 2 or 3 and they've averaged about 12, 15 euros. But they look really interesting, and you never know who you get to speak to, and obviously who else uses the service. So we're quite interested in that. And the guys from Home Camper, I told them that I'd be probably doing a podcast about the actual places that we visit. They've suggested a couple, one of which is, would you believe, one of which is in the Champagne region. Oh, darling. So I'm hopefully going to book into that. That's in the north of Paris somewhere. And we'll see how we get on. So this could be a different type of podcast coming soon, but hopefully one which will give you food for thought for the future, and if you choose to go to France or further afield. When I last spoke to Etienne, he was saying that the other European countries are all starting to get on board. So I wouldn't be surprised that in a couple of years' time this could be quite an interesting network of camping locations dotted around Europe. which is got to be worth keeping an eye on, surely. Well, that pretty well brings you up to what I've been doing over the last few months, really, putting this stuff together, and also what we plan to do in the near future. A lot of the suggestions you've made in the newsletter, I will be following those through, and I do keep going back to the people and saying, are you sure you don't want to do an interview? And they're a bit nervous about it or whatever. But if you have any ideas for cottage manufacturers in the UK, smaller companies that could just do with a little bit of promotion or a little bit of marketing or a little bit of awareness, then join our newsletter, make some suggestions, and I look at that and will approach the people accordingly. There is somebody that we keep missing at the moment, and if you've done the PCT, you'll understand why. But there's an 18-year-old lad that left school in the US, and we've been in regular contact. Every time he just hits a town that's got Wi-Fi and he's able to do an interview, unfortunately, it's when I'm not available and vice versa. So I'm waiting for him to get to another place where he has a good signal, and we're going to do a Skype interview. But that should be a really, really interesting conversation. It's his first proper long-distance hike, and I'm sure a lot of things have already happened to him that's enhanced his character and given him some life experiences. So that'll be good, so we'll share that as well. So if there's anybody else at all out there who'd like to have a chat, who wants to talk about lightweight or long-distance self-powered travel, then please get in touch. So, until next time, folks, enjoy what's left of the summer. I shall be in Belle France, enjoying a glass of champagne or two, I hope, and I'll come back and tell you all about the cheese. Until then, bye for now.
Thank you for listening to this podcast. To hear or see more from our extensive free library, please visit theoutdoorstation.co.uk.